So what happens when a perfect, sun-drenched party smacks right into the harsh reality of death? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore in Katherine Mansfield's classic short story, The Garden Party. It's a story that kicks off in this beautiful, perfect garden, but ends up in a dark, shadowed cottage. And along the way, it makes you ask some really tough questions, about class, about privilege, and what life is really all about. So let's dive in. Right from the get-go, the story drops us into this world of almost unreal perfection. The weather's ideal, you couldn't have ordered a better day. And Mansfield, she really lays it on thick. It's windless, it's warm, the sky is a light gold. But look, this isn't just a weather report. Not at all. This is the very first brick being laid in this wall of privilege, this perfect little bubble where absolutely nothing is ever supposed to go wrong. Okay, so we're at the Sheridan family's house, and party preparations are in full swing. We're seeing everything through the eyes of our main character, Laura, and she's just swept up in this innocent, almost childlike joy of the whole thing. Every little detail we see is like another brushstroke on this canvas of a perfectly curated, absolutely beautiful life. And I mean, just look at the details that build this world for us. This is not just any old party. It is a total spectacle of abundance. You've got guys putting up a marquee, hundreds of roses that bloomed overnight like they knew they were supposed to, canna lilies, a piano being moved, and 15 different kinds of sandwiches. And, of course, Godber's famous cream puffs. It really paints a picture of a life that's completely insulated by wealth, right? A world where every little desire is just met. But, just as we're getting comfortable in this perfect little world, Katherine Mansfield introduces the first tiny crack in the whole facade. And it comes from a pretty unlikely place: Laura's conversation with the workmen who are there to put up the marquee. So as Laura is watching these guys work, she's kind of captivated by how real they are. There's this one moment where a workman just stops what he's doing to smell a sprig of lavender. It's such a small, simple thing, right? A little moment of genuine pleasure. And in that one gesture, Laura sees a connection to life that feels so much more authentic than anything she gets from the silly boys she danced with. This is really the first time she starts to question the values of her own world, even if it's a little naive. And this moment really solidifies it for her. She thinks it's all the fault of these absurd class distinctions. She just doesn't feel them, she says. Not a bit, not an atom. Now look, it's a pretty easy conclusion to come to from her position of massive privilege, right? But for Laura, this feels like a huge, heartfelt realization. And that thought alone, it totally sets her apart from the rest of her family. And really, it plants the seed for the huge conflict that is just about to happen. All right, so picture this. Laura and her sister Jose are in the kitchen, they're sneaking some of those famous cream puffs, and then, boom, their perfect, controlled little world gets violently interrupted by some news from just outside their garden gate. The whole cheerful chaos of the kitchen just comes to a dead stop. The delivery guy is in the middle of a story, and Mansfield just drops this line on us. Something had happened. It's so simple, but so ominous. In a split second, the whole vibe of the room just changes. And then we get the brutal reality. The cook says, "There's been a horrible accident. A man killed." It turns out a young guy, a carter named Scott, who lives in those poor little cottages down the lane, was thrown from his horse and killed. Instantly. And he's left behind a wife and 5 little kids. This didn't happen miles away. It happened right at the bottom of their hill, literally a stone's throw from their perfect party. In this news, this is the central conflict of the entire story. Because for Laura, it feels like the whole world has just stopped turning. But for her family, it's just an unfortunate little interruption. Her genuine empathy immediately clashes with their almost rehearsed ability or just brush it off. I mean, the contrast is just so immediate and so stark. Laura's first plea is pure empathy. Stop the garden party, of course. A man is dead. What else would you do? But her sister's response? My dear Laura, don't be so absurd. Nobody expects us to. She calls her absurd. It's like she's reinforcing this unspoken family rule that, the lives of poor people happen over there, and they have absolutely nothing to do with our world. So when Laura goes to her mother, hoping for some support, that class barrier becomes even clearer. Laura asks, "Mother, isn't it terribly heartless of us?" And Mrs. Sheridan's logic, it is just chilling. She basically says, people like that don't expect sacrifices from us. People like that. And then she twists it, saying it's not sympathetic to spoil everyone else's good time. She literally reframes being selfish as being sympathetic to her guests. And you can see Laura's moral resolve just start to waver. Her mother very cleverly distracts her by putting this beautiful new hat on her head. And when Laura catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror, she's totally captivated. The pull of her own beautiful world is just so powerful. That hat, it becomes this symbol of all the privilege and comfort she doesn't really want to give up. And she starts to wonder, maybe she's the one being extravagant and unreasonable. So, of course, the party goes on, and it's a huge success. But as it's winding down, Mrs. Sheridan has what she calls a brilliant idea. She decides they should pack up a basket of leftovers and send it down to the grieving family. And guess who she insists has to take it? Laura, in her fancy party dress and everything. And so Laura's walk down the hill becomes this literal journey from one world into a completely different one. She leaves her own garden gate as it's getting dark. The road she knows is gleaming and familiar. But then she has to cross over to the lane where they live, and suddenly it's smoky and dark. She can hear this low hum coming from these mean little cottages. It's like a physical journey across that class divide she was just thinking about earlier. And as she gets closer, she becomes painfully aware of just how out of place she is. Her fine lace frock, and especially that grand hat, it all feels like a ridiculous costume now. She can feel the eyes of the community on her, and she's just filled with this sense of shame. She realizes she's not a visitor. She's an intruder in their grief. She has this overwhelming urge to just turn and run, but she doesn't. Instead, she's ushered into this cramped, dark cottage, and then, almost against her will, she's led into the bedroom where Mr. Scott, the dead man, is lying. This is it. This is the climax of the story. Laura is coming face to face with death for the very first time. And as she's looking at him, she has this incredible realization. She's not seeing something horrible. She's seeing peace. And his question just hits her. What did any of it matter to him? Garden parties, baskets of leftovers, lace frocks, it all just evaporates. She's suddenly face to face with this huge, unbridgeable gap between her trivial little world and this ultimate reality. Yeah, instead of being horrifying or grotesque, she finds his face beautiful, peaceful, even happy. It's such a shocking, transformative moment for her. She thinks his sleeping face is saying, all is well. This is just as it should be. I am content. It's like in death, he's found this dignity and peace that completely transcends all those absurd class distinctions that defined his entire life. She's just completely overwhelmed, and she lets out this small, almost childish sob. And what she says is just, forgive my hat. It's such a simple, powerful line. She's not just apologizing for the piece of headwear, right? She's sorry for everything it represents, her wealth, her silliness, her total ignorance. It's like an apology from her entire world to his. So Laura basically flees the cottage and runs right into her brother Laurie. He asks her, was it awful? And she says, no, it was marvelous. She tries to explain this huge thing she's just realized, but she just can't find the words. She stammers, isn't life... But she can't finish the sentence. Isn't life what? Strange? Beautiful? Cruel? Confusing? All of it? The story just ends there, on that unfinished question, leaving us right there with Laura to think about the profound, completely unanswerable mystery of it all.